Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for tuning to Daily Nights. I'm your host, Treasonous Truths, and joining me today, I have my co-host, Daddy Sins. Say hello to the ladies and gentlemen tonight, Daddy Sins.
Yo, what's up, everybody's Daddy Sins in the house. It's time for a
Now to it.
sinful night of interesting topics to talk about.
Yeah, everything from the ridiculous Elish, what do you call her? Elish Mommy Norn, and her glistening oil juice or whatever. What do you call it?
Complete.
Fuck it.
That's what I call it. So I call it. It's just let it happen. Just be completed by her.
Oh my god, it's completed. It's completed. Just
I
because
hate.
Magic
I
decided...
hate that they do that. It's just like it's stupid.
It's because they're trying to be fancy. Like, oh, let's look at this old English dictionary. Oh, what does this word mean? Complete. How do you pronounce it? Complete. Let's fuck with our audience, and they'll debate whether it's completed or completed.
Yes, it's just if you were gonna say complete, which obviously doesn't sound cool, right? Then you should just stuck with complete. Or if you're gonna say completed, the way that I'm reading it now, because it's complete, Compleat. That says to me that says complete, not complete.
No, that could still be completed as well, like beat. Like BEAT?
I guess the A is silent in this.
It really depends on, English. Well, that's old English as well. Like the old way of spelling domain, DOMAIN, is DEMESNE. So you would think it's pronounced dements, but it's actually pronounced domain.
Ah,
yeah,
that's interesting.
And I'm actually guilty of using that in the game book. So, I'm a little bit of hypocrite right there.
It's a little hypocrisy. It's not.
Yeah, just a wee bit.
It's just a wee bit. It's all good.
It's a wee bit, but I'm honest about it. I'll be like, yeah. I'm not gonna lie. I am being a hypocrite by complaining about that too.
But for the audience, it is completed. Thank you. Come again.
Oh, get out! It's gonna be Team Complete versus Team Complete.
it's gonna be a WWE match.
So are we gonna generate two fake wrestling characters? One's gonna be completed and wearing it's pronounced completed, and the other one's gonna say no, it's completed, and they're just gonna brawl it out, let the AI duke it out.
Yeah, essentially, they should let the internet decide. Actually, probably not. I don't know about that.
Oh yeah, because letting the internet decide is always gonna work out. Remember Bodie McBoatface?
Yeah, wasn't there a contest to decide? Was it somebody's name?
I don't think no. So the one I remember
was a contest, and then I think it ended up being I don't know if it was Hitler or something. It ended up being something stupid and really far out. That was
no. So
it was a meme
so
thing.
Hold on. So the one that I remember is back in 2016 when they were trying to name this boat. The internet voted for Bodie McBoatface. And of course, that's what you're going to get when you allow the internet to decide on a poll. Okay? Let's see. There was another one. Dub the Dew back in 2012. An Italian restaurant launched... Oh, I'm getting some sort of weird ad pop up. Some sort of name. And so... Oh, yeah, this is one you're talking about. 4chan Bulletin Board offered a name such as Hitler did nothing wrong.
Oh, yeah, that was it. That's
back
what
in
the internet decided.
Yeah. And because they were trying to choose a name for a green apple soft drink, right? And so they went with Hitler did nothing wrong. That was back in 2012. And diabetes. Diabeetus. Diabetes. Yes.
Diabetes.
In 2007, Greenpeace wanted to track a group of whales in the South Pacific in an attempt to stop them from being hunted. They decided to hold an online poll to name the animals. One of the most popular suggestions, which had over 78% of the votes, was Mr. Splashy Pants, the whale.
That one's not a bad name.
Yeah.
I mean, it's better than Hitler did nothing wrong name.
Yeah, you're not. I mean, very things pale, make Hitler pale in comparison. But Stalin would be or Mao Zedong. Those are high-ranking competitors.
Bodie McBoatface.
Oh my god. Mao's great leap forward. Self motivation school.
Yeah, he should not attend.
No, he
His
shouldn't.
history would dictate what
Yeah.
happens.
So I know listeners, if you're wondering, yeah, we didn't have we missed out on 2 days. We just had a family issue essentially, but we're back on schedule and we'll be returning with daily episodes. We're going to be looking to record Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, and then Friday will be our normal show, whether it be Neon Knights FM or Eternal Champions. I think when this goes live, it'll be Eternal Champions this week, and I want to say next week, but we'll see what the scheduling permits.
Yes. But yes, we had a delay, but we are, things happen, but we're back. So we got some interesting topics to talk about tonight
Yeah,
to
we're a
make up
little
for the
late.
lack.
Yeah, we're a little late on some of it though, like the whole Crowder or Chowder and Daily Soup debacle.
Mm.
That's I
The battle
want to
of
say
the
that's
conservatism.
yeah. The big con as Crowder has called it. Yeah, it's just really weird, and it's kind of the dust has kind of settled now because the whole Eliza Blue thing has kind of blown up ever since the quartering and Brittany Venti, as well as Yellow Flash. I think Camelot,
Yeah.
and I think at least probably 10 people total were basically suspended or banned off of Twitter because they posted a public image from World Star Hip Hop of this Eliza Blue person who claims that she's a human trafficking survivor, but when asked about her story, people are saying like the timeline doesn't match up, as well as some of her friends are saying that they don't buy her story.
She kept changing on things, what would happen. Because either
Yeah,
A, like I said, it was all full of shit, which you found out that it's all full of shit. If
yeah.
you
The
keep up
biggest
with the quartering.
that also, if you listen to a Michael Malice's podcast called "You're Welcome," I think that's what it's called. I have to. I'm trying to remember. She was interviewed and she basically said that she was human trafficked because someone was using her photo without her consent, right, to catfish guys on fake Twitter accounts. And of course, she's got Daddy Elon, you know,
Yep.
in her pocket. So
Which
he's
honestly, that shouldn't even taken that long. Honestly, if it's a public image on a very popular website. There's nothing that the quartering did wrong or
no,
any of them.
not at
There
all.
was nothing wrong. It was public. They're just fucking upset because you got called out, and then you actually finally admitted after a whole week debacle of the quartering, trying to back up Steven Crowder and the whole Daily Wire hot mess contract issues to now this Eliza Blue issue. There's no reason why he should have been suspended for I think at least about a week, maybe probably a couple more days after that. There's no reason.
I mean, he shouldn't have been he shouldn't have been suspended
No.
at all. And he was supposed to go on Tim Pool's podcast, I think yesterday, I think, or the day before. And I was actually, I don't really watch Tim Pool anymore unless he has someone like interesting. Like when Crowder was on, I wanted to hear what Crowder had to say about the whole thing with the whole Chowder soup debate. When he had, whenever he has Michael Malice on, I like to listen. Malice is pretty funny. He's just, says whatever. I would love to see him as Speaker of the House in the future. That'd be fucking hilarious. He'd do circles and rectangles and fucking rhombuses around the press.
That should actually
But
be fucking awesome. Not gonna lie.
no, you should listen to some of the fucking snarky comments or check out his Twitter. It's hilarious what he says. But yeah, no, I check him out whenever he has someone interesting on, and I was actually looking forward to the quartering going deep into this and providing some sort of detail about what was going on, a timeline of events delivered with his eloquence. But we never got that, and it seemed to kind of create a small rift between the two fandoms. Not even between Jeremy and Tim, but between the people who are like hardcore quartering fans and hardcore Tim Pool fans or Timcast fans.
Yeah. No, it definitely caused a huge rift between the whole if people identify as a whole political party of conservatives, right, or conservatism as a spectrum. But so in a brief nutshell, without getting into too much of the details, because it is It's not that it's old news, but it is something important to bring up because this can be used as a learning lesson for future people to do business ventures with just other people or businesses you want to do business ventures, even doing business ventures with friends and stuff. So
Yeah,
basically, um, the Daily Wire sent out a contract, a pre-contract. There's not even a main contract. This is a pre-contract.
yeah. The terms list basically, Crowder would look over it, see what's what, and then he's supposed to, according to what I understand, that he's supposed to contact with them and say, okay, I don't agree to these terms and I don't agree to these terms. And the funny thing is, Crowder left out people's name. He didn't say who it was, but immediately internet sleuths automatically assumed Daily Wire because they either were like, some people were like, oh, I recognize that contract because, they're, either worked for the Daily Wire at some point or they work for the Daily Wire in some capacity. So they, recognize those terms. And then other people just assumed it was a Daily Wire because they're thinking, who is Crowder really close with? Like, let's be honest. Who has he been really close with throughout this entire whole conservative movement that kind of picked up a lot of heavy wind during the 2016 election? And that's Daily Wire.
Mm-hmm. That's what kind of where Steven Crowder got his whole from his website. Is it Stop Big Con? Big.
Yeah. Stop Big Con. So he's, I guess, going independent, which he should have done to begin with. Like a guy like Crowder, he, roughly speaking, I think the estimated numbers of Mug Club subscribers are roughly around 300,000 Mug Club subscribers. He's not monetized on YouTube, hasn't been for a while. He even said that there was a brief moment where YouTube made an error in their system, or their monetization system, and they monetized him for 4 months, realized what they did, and then demonetized him afterwards again.
I wonder if YouTube should be hold penalty against that for the money he could have potentially earned within those 4 months. Because that honestly should be in a contract. I wouldn't sign a contract, honestly.
Well, I think he did get money from the 4 months that he was monetized. I would assume he did. They can't just, it's an error on their part. They're going to be like, oh, it's an error on our part, so you're going to have to suffer. No, it's YouTube, so I wouldn't be surprised, but it's also ass hat backwards too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You would think they at least should take an average of his overall earnings yearly and then divide it and then do it by the 4 months loss and then give him something.
I mean, that's the thing. He doesn't earn anything from YouTube. So there's no earnings to calculate. On average, though, I think, if I'm not mistaken, he brings in like his average viewership. Well, he could
use his Mug Club memberships then. Also from his website.
His average viewership whenever he does his like morning streams, I'm not sure if he still does, but back in the day they were like 150 some odd thousand, unless they were like a big events like the 2020 election or the covering, I think, of the Kyle Rittenhouse trial. Those hit like, I want to say, up to his estimated Mug Club numbers of like 300,000 plus.
Yeah, because after he was done with the Blaze and wanted to go off on his own. Right, go off his own name as just Steven Crowder. Right, so it's usually what happens is, right, it seems like a conservative voice will attempt to be, quote, canceled, right, and then usually they get picked up or joined by the Daily Wire, right. Mm-hmm. It started with they picked Gina Carano got picked up after a whole debacle with Disney because of the thing that she said on Twitter, which is so ridiculous.
Which was stupid. Talk about the most innocuous fucking post ever.
Mm-hmm. And then it was Jordan Peterson who joined the Daily Wire.
Oh, and he's going through some shit right now. You saw that?
Yeah, he's going through stuff that the Canadian government trying to revoke his license.
Yes, unless he takes social media re-education training.
Wow.
Tell me that in what dystopian novel world do we live in? It's
part of the New World Order crap.
But that's as blunt as you can fucking put it. They are so arrogant. It's either they're so arrogant they don't care anymore about hiding what they're trying to push out there, or they think people are so stupid people aren't going to see this.
I think it's a little bit of both. That's why they use social media One to actually hide their true intentions, and two, honestly, I don't think they don't. I think it's a mixture of both. But if I have to weigh one versus the other, I think they're playing off the stupidity of the youth while using social media to actually manipulate them, and a lot of the youth and even people in our I guess what are we? What is it? Not Gen fucking Y. I was saying fucking Pokemon X and Y.
I think we're millennials. I think we're
Millennials,
millennials.
technically,
Yeah,
yeah,
unfortunately.
yeah. It's they're playing off the stupidity, essentially, from you not knowing. They're able to manipulate you, especially with while using TikTok, especially that's controlled by the CCP.
Well, it's not just the CCP. There's a whole group right now. It's called BRICS. It's if I'm not mistaken, it's
Oh yeah, okay. Hmm.
Brazil, Russia, Iran, China, and Saudi Arabia, and there are other countries looking to join, and they're looking to create an alternative. Like Russia, right, has stated that if you want to buy natural gas from them, right, you have to use the ruble, just like we were doing with the petrodollar. The reason why the dollar hasn't gone like flat, like as bad as it is right now, the reason why it isn't worse is simply because we are doing, and I don't agree with it, but we are doing this whole petrodollar thing where we are using oil to back up our dollar and forcing people to buy oil with our dollars, just like what Russia's doing with the freaking ruble and natural gas.
It's sort of a sad way playing fire with fire, but I don't see this. I think the outcome is going to be the same for all. If nothing's changed, if you keep doing to others what they're doing to you, there's going to be no change. It's like a cycle of hatred. It's
Yeah.
just going to keep going and going and going, till eventually we all self destruct ourselves.
Well, yeah, blood never sleeps. Remember, that old quote from, again, I beat it like a dead horse, but Saladin, right? Blood never sleeps. So, oh, and I need to put a correction myself. BRICS is actually an acronym for, and I was partially right. It's Brazil, Russia, India, not Iran, China, and South Africa, not Saudi Arabia. I got it mixed up. But I
Mm.
think Saudi Arabia did talk about wanting to join the group. Basically, they're kind of their own. It's if you want to compare it to, like, the World War nations at the time. You had the Axis powers, Germany, Japan, and so forth, and Russia temporarily at that time. And then you had the Allies, which were, U.S., other countries of Europe, and so forth. So, yeah, so that's what's going on right now, and we are. It's crazy. Like I've said this privately to you, but the dark age has not come yet. It's on its way, but that doesn't mean people should get black-pilled. People should still, persevere, pull through, and live their lives.
Hmm. Yeah, we so there's not. It doesn't make you black pill if you objectively have not acknowledge what's going on. What makes you black pilled for the audience is when you say, "Man, this is it. This is how it's gonna be. It's over. I'm not even gonna bother to try." Almost like a self defeat, as in you're giving up. Because you can acknowledge that the world is currently is in a shitty place right now, and it very much
Oh,
is.
without a doubt.
But
And
it
the
doesn't
pe-
mean that people should stop trying just because it seems, oh, I'm just a small guy. I can't do anything about an issue. That no one's gonna listen to me. Well, you definitely nothing's gonna get done if you have a negativity, a non-optimistic attitude about it.
yeah, because you become a doormat, whether you intend it to be.
Yeah.
You're
You
a
won't
doormat
realize
at
it,
that
but
point.
you will be a
Yeah,
doormat regardless,
yeah.
especially if you download TikTok.
Well, that's the crazy thing. So, as much as I'm against TikTok, what TikTok is doing via China is being Chinese spyware. Google does the same exact thing. The only difference is between Google and TikTok is Google charges China for that information while China just takes it. So those are your alternatives currently. And hopefully, I really hope more people start backing up this search browser. I'm not sure if you use it yet, JB, but it's called Brave.
No, I used DuckDuckGo before. That's what you told me to use.
Yeah,
Been using that.
I stopped using DuckDuckGo because they started, from what I understand, they were beginning to do some sort of like Google-esque implementations of data gathering.
So
So,
it's kind of what the Daily Wire is pretending to fight. They're pretending to fight big tech while also using big tech to give them money to promote their programs, their ads, and their videos on Facebook. Yeah, you're really fighting big tech by doing that. Good fucking
Yeah.
job.
Well, it's also like, and it's funny. Remember how I talked about Shapiro, telling people to get the vax because they're
Hmm.
dopes if they don't, and so forth. I'm paraphrasing, but I have the exact tweet. It's like literally a sentence or two. And so he was talking about how the Daily Wire put up millions to fight against the mandates, and he said, yes, I acknowledge that I did tell people to get the vax, but my company was also fighting mandates. But I'm like, to me, that just comes off as you were hedging your bets. So this way, depending on which side won, which seems like the
You were trying to
anti-mandates.
protect yourself. You were going to side
Exactly.
with one side and not make yourself seem like the bad person for not getting the vaccine or for getting the vaccine.
Exactly. So he chose anti-mandate, but he encouraged people to get the vaccine, right? So hedging his bets, and the anti-mandate side seems to have, obviously won, or is winning, I should say. Can't say the war's over yet, right? Many battles are still being fought. So especially now with everything getting repealed when it came to like the military mandates for the vaccine and so forth, those got repealed. So
Hmm.
like I said, it seems like he was hedging his bets.
Oh, Biden also ended he said the COVID emergency was over. But did you see in
Oh,
finite details? It's in May.
yeah. So
It's
we're
in
still
May.
going. We're still going. Yeah.
Yes. The 2 week spread is turning into almost a 3 year spread. Yeah, it's
It's
it was one of those Gotti moments that he did on people, which I'm surprised on how he did it because I don't think he's an intellectual person to begin with.
Yeah, I mean, that started back in what was that, March 14th of 2020, right? If I'm not mistaken, was it the 14th or 13th?
Mm, 14th, yes.
Oh wait, no, it was the 17th because I remember it was memory just hit me. It was St. Patrick's Day. So literally St.
Oh,
Patrick's
so
Day.
you said on March St. Patrick's. Okay, okay, yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
so it
Yeah.
was it was St. Patrick's Day 2020 when the COVID emergency stuff kicked in, and it was 14 days to stop the spread. People, and this is the problem with temporary. It's like Dave Smith says, nothing is more permanent than a temporary government policy. Okay, I hope I'm saying it correctly. I know it's along those lines. And so started in 2020. This is not going to end until May 11th, I think, if I read correctly, right? So we are not only going into 3 years, we're going into 3+ years into this whole ridiculousness, which should have concluded after a year.
Yeah, it was already proven that the shutdown, especially for schools, um, didn't promote anything. It made it worse for the youth that are in schools currently. The shutdown didn't do anything. It actually made our society worse from a youth perspective of the kids in school, financially.
Well,
It
yeah,
hurt, it
also,
hurt us for 2 years. I mean, not. It seems like not that it matters, but then this is a joking thing. It jokingly doesn't matter because we're just gonna keep funding Ukraine we're just gonna keep funding them because
and
money grows out of magical unicorn thin air.
so I'm glad you brought that up about the whole financial aspect because that occurred, right when the shutdown came around, right? Our market took a hit, but it went almost completely unnoticed because the our federal government injected. I want to say it was, man, I had these numbers on hand months ago when we were talking about it on the side. Um, Trillions, I want to say, into the stock market, which is supposed to be owned, private, right? To boost up the economy and not boost up, but create yet another bubble. It's like putting a band-aid on a hot air balloon that's, has a massive spear going through it. And that's what not prevented, but slowed down our descent. But we're crashing, There's no denying it. You see the prices of eggs at like $15-$16 in some places. You see the price of a gallon of milk, almost hitting $10. I think it was like, last I checked, I saw a gallon of milk was like $7.69 in some places. It's absolutely insane.
Mm-hmm. That doesn't
Oh, and
doesn't account for all those food plants that have been burned down for the last 2 years.
well, yeah, that's
Especially the
funny. I
one
think,
recently, the eggplant that was burned down.
yeah, in Hillendale, I think it was called, or something
Hmm.
like that. Luke Rudkowski, I think is his name. He's from We Are Change. He occasionally is on Tim Pool's podcast. Honestly, I think he's the better of the two whenever he's on. He posted up a funny meme, and it's Klaus Schwab from the World Economic Fuckery.
Hiddale's Farms in, I'm butchering it, but it's in Connecticut, so I don't care.
Gotcha.
Bozar, Bozarah, Connecticut. Hillendale Farms in Bozarah, Connecticut went up finding the sad an incident that is still under investigation. Yes, just like how the other ones are still under investigation. Insert Austin Powers meme of Mr. Evil.
Yeah,
Right?
under investigation, air
Yeah.
quotes. But going back to what I was saying, Luke Rudkowski, he posted a meme of Klaus Schwab from the World Economic Fuckery, and it was like the Wheel of Fortune wheel, and he was spinning what's the next thing that they're going to cause to, the next psyop. And he's like, what's your guess? And on the wheel, it's like climate change, global food shortage, another pandemic, cyber attack, you name it, right? A bunch of stuff, World War III, you name it. And so I responded to him. I was like,
who was that other thing? 90 minutes, the end of the world. Who the fuck said that?
90 seconds. The what's it called? The doomsday clock.
The doomsday clock.
Yeah. That shit is fucking retarded. The dumbest thing, because you could literally have global enemies actually have access to arms that they don't even know about, and they're confident that they have this clairvoyance or this omniscience to what's going on in the world, so they understand everything. So they're going to be arrogant enough to say, "Oh, it's 90 seconds until the doomsday clock."
No, they absolutely don't understand this, especially if you're from another country. I'm sorry, I really don't want to hear about your opinions and what we should do as a country in the United States of America. You can have your opinions, sure, but they're just like assholes. Everyone has one. I don't care.
Yeah, I mean,
Like
if you're gonna spout an opinion, at least back it up with something. Don't
Yeah.
just be like, "Oh, I feel it's this." Okay,
Oh, yeah.
congratulations.
That's
I
the worst
I
way
feel,
to start a sentence, honestly.
I,
As
f-
soon
I
as I
feel
hear
someone's
that,
full of shit.
I feel, and I'm like, okay, my brain like innately just turns off. And all I hear from them is blah 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 when he starts saying how
So
I
Charlie Brown
feel.
speak.
Yep, Charlie Brown. I don't. They're probably just still not old enough to even understand who Charlie Brown is. Maybe
No,
our
I
older
mean that.
audience will. Maybe. Hopefully you do.
I really hope we do. I hope we have like an audience roughly around our age that still grew up with Charlie Brown and actually enjoyed those amazing Charlie Brown Christmas. The great what do you call it? The Halloween special and so forth. The Great Pumpkin.
Great normal classic cartoons that didn't have hidden political ideology and agenda behind it. You know? Just classic great cartoon. Just meant to purely entertain.
Well, that's what I was talking to Damien about briefly. He was talking about how he made a mistake in the posting on our chat. He said it was a Swamp Thing TV show that was announced, but he corrected himself and said, no, my bad. It's a Swamp Thing movie. And I said, you know what? Honestly, given James Gunn's history of obscure characters, and Swamp Thing, he isn't like an A-list character, to be honest, right? And neither were the Guardians of the Galaxy. But look what James Gunn did for them, right? Granted, he was a director, not someone who's overseeing it creatively and letting someone else do it. But I'm pretty sure, well, I would hope James Gunn does the same duty to Swamp Thing without injecting already, which I can predict may be this whole climate change narrative and blaming the climate change for why Swamp Thing's doing a Swamp Thing and making it an incredibly cliched and trite thing. Private companies evil. Government is always good and, siding with the forces of nature.
Yes.
I bet you that's what they're going to put in there.
Oh, without a doubt. I don't doubt it. You can't have just pure fun entertainment without trying to interject uh um political ideology or agenda driven narratives into our large popular pop culture entertainment, things that we I would honestly say you still love, at least with a few of us over in Neon Knights, and probably other people who either still kind of love them or maybe they don't, or they feel differently about them now. Right? I'm not surprised. I will be shocked. I don't know nothing about the Swamp Thing, but I will be shocked if there isn't any if the entire movie doesn't say anything about climate change. I'll be shocked. Like I actually will probably see it then. I know nothing about
I,
Swamp Thing, so
I honestly, I'm gonna wait to see what certain people that I follow, like Nerd Gary at Nerdrotic, Quarter Black Garrett, those folks, Jeremy from Geeks and Gamers, Ryan Kennel,
Razor
those
Fist.
guys.
You know he's gonna say
Razor.
something
Oh,
about it.
if Razor Fist sees it, and definitely, like I'm a
I feel like
huge
that's
Razor.
just an answer right there.
Yeah, Razor. I'm a huge Razor Fist fan. I'm glad I found that guy via Nerdrotic because he was what was it? It was this past summer he happened to be on Nerdrotic's podcast. I think it was the summer, either towards the summer or the fall, and he was on. He was funny. I was like, I got to look this guy up. I never heard of him before. I subscribed to his channel. And I started watching. I went like the whole binge watching thing. I saw some Metal Mythos videos. I read his whole thing of reject modernity, embrace tradition, right? And Pulp, going into the whole plagiarism of Batman and so forth. And I was like, this dude fucking rocks. He has a fucking in your face attitude, but he's like, has his factual information. So I was like, I was sold. And then ever since I've been, reading the stuff that he's been recommending, like, getting into the Shadow, Elric of Melno Benet, which as soon as I started reading Elric, I was like, man, this stuff is like crack for me.
Dude, it, what's about the one that might be a funny saving grace
What?
is Trump is back on Twitter.
Yeah, but he's yet to post anything. I think,
know,
right?
And in my mind, I'm like, let's bring back the mean tweets. Come on,
Make back tweets mean again.
Yes, make tweets mean again. Seriously, bring them back. I fucking can't.
I wouldn't mind. I found his tweets. Yeah, they were uncouthed, but you know what? They were fucking hilarious. And
his
they actually
deliverance on them were it was gold. They were just great.
Well, he was straight to the point. There was no bullshit. He wasn't like, using soft language as George Carlin would say. He called someone a fat cow. He called someone a fat cow. I think he did that to Rosie O'Donnell, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, I do hope he comes back on the platform just so he can start tweeting, as this shit was hilarious. Because I can tell you right now, as soon as he was kicked off of Twitter, there were a lot of Trump reply guys, people not anti-Trump people, who literally lost their jobs or lost their identity because they literally became so self-absorbed into, they got full-on TDS, Trump derangement syndrome, that their whole life revolved around like what this guy did.
Probably obviously there are people who look up to him as an example, as like a hero in their eyes, at least.
Well, yeah, there are. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. The guy did some, some good, but also some bad stuff, like the whole bump stock thing with the ATF after the whole Vegas shooting, creating yet another bubble economy, and trying to reinflate that bubble as soon as the 14 days to stop the spread kicked in. Where he injected, not him, but the reserve injected trillions into the stock market to try to prevent it from collapsing, which only just delayed the inevitable. Imagine having everything that we're going through now happen 3 years ago and it waking up people faster. We could have all of us could have woken up faster and actually be fighting together against this whole system that's trying to,
well, that's the problem. They're putting us together by trying to put us in these tribalism groups. That only works in Magic the Gathering tribals. Tribal battles are fun, but in realistic real world, it doesn't work. It doesn't. It's only going to be an inevitable downfall from there.
So to go back to what I was saying, it was 1.5 trillion to prop up the stock market, and that was literally on the 17th, if I'm not mistaken, right when everything began.
Mm-hmm. Well, it essentially was to help to save people, I guess, their stocks in the stock market, when it's technically supposed to be a private-owned business, not a government-owned business. But we don't know. We don't know what we're talking about, though. So apparently,
the idea of private companies trading in the stock market. I mean, they're publicly traded companies, but still, It's a joke. They're all funded in some way by the government, right? If they receive any sort of funding from the government in any way, they're no longer a privately owned business, right? So Twitter, for instance, prior to Elon purchasing it, and probably may still be going on, I don't know. The FBI was using them, the CIA were using them to what do you call it? Control the narrative, as it were. Look what happened with the Hunter Biden laptop. You know, most people said they would have not voted for Biden had they known about it, but because they were suppressed, because the people who broke it, I think it was a New York Post, were suspended off of Twitter until they were, I think they were instructed to delete the post about the Hunter Biden laptop because they deemed it misinformation or fake news.
Yeah, no, Twitter was was partly big responsible for the misinformation in the 2020, at least the past one, the 2020 election. So I'm not surprised, and so in a way, I'm not his biggest fan, Elon Musk, but
Oh,
at least
neither am
I'm
I.
glad that he bought it, and at least is trying to get all the so-called juicy news out of it. So hopefully he continues to keep doing that. You know,
I mean,
getting exposing Twitter for who they really are. Because
we'll see
Twitter
that.
was supposed to be a whole, and for the audience, free speech means free speech.
Yeah.
There's no but this, but that. No, free speech. It's free speech. It doesn't have a gray area. So that's what Twitter's premise was supposed to be back when it first came out over 10 years ago. But that was a lie.
The lie detector determined that was a lie. Yeah. Going back to the whole thing about what was it? The students, right? We were talking about schools and them losing time on school. And this is a conservative guess. This is from the New York Times. I hate propping them up, but they are the ones who have the story out here. Students lost 1/3 of a school year to pandemic study fines. I'm surprised that number isn't higher. And I'm pretty sure it probably is higher.
Oh no, it is. It is. I can not for a fact, but I can definitely tell you it's at least two. It's at least 2/3. There is no way it's just a third. That they lost way more because if you account for, I guess, different in each state for holiday times and religious days off, right? You can
Yeah.
account it's at least 2/3.
Also the summer.
Mm-hmm.
Wasn't that also the summer of love too? The quote summer of love?
Yeah, the summer of
2020?
love. Let's destroy my own backyard.
Yeah.
And then
Legit.
expect the
Burn down.
federal government to pay for it.
Yeah, and burn down privately owned businesses.
Yes, you're
Like
gonna throw a tantrum.
mom and pop stores, by the way, which the argument people were saying, oh, they're insured, they're insured. Maybe Walmart might be insured. Maybe, what's it called? Costco might be insured. These big box stores, yeah, they might be insured. But the mom and pop shops who were mostly affected by this, they weren't insured probably. So they lost their shirts on it. And it's incredibly disrespectful. They're the backbone of this country, or what the country should have been.
Yeah. No, they very much in the future are still going to be the backbone, the small businesses. I'm not, dude. That the whole summer of love, it made no sense. I don't care what color fucking skin tone of a person that died, whether you're male or female or black, white, or green or orange. You shouldn't be burning down and destroying your own city, especially if something that didn't pertainly happen to you. Because what did those Starbuckses, those car dealerships, the regular mom and pop businesses, what did they have to do with George Floyd dying? Nothing. They had nothing to do with it.
I mean, if they really wanted to care, if they really did genuinely care, and it wasn't just some psyop, right? Go to the police stations.
Yes,
That's where you riot. That's where you protest. Okay,
you would
you
peacefully protest going to the police stations on a public sidewalk, not in the fucking streets where cars that you have
Yes.
that have to honk at you, and then you get mad when they run over you.
remember
You
mostly
don't get it
peaceful
both ways.
but fiery protest. Mostly peaceful but fiery protest.
Or you should have went to your federal court systems. Your
Yeah.
your federal,
March.
not the state. Go to your county courts, right? Do a petition. Go to the police stations. right? Do a good protest that doesn't it's not throwing Molotov cocktails and shooting and beating up other police officers. It doesn't work that way. Just because you have one bad apple, it doesn't ruin it for the entire crop. All right, well, that's a really bad analogy because for growing crops, it
Technically,
actually does.
it would.
So
Yeah, it
it's
does.
a really
Yeah.
bad analogy. But yes, one bad cop or one bad person, or we can say one bad white person, one bad black person doesn't mean all the rest of the white or black people out there are bad. No, it doesn't work
No,
like that. That's subjective you thinking.
that's a,
That's not
that's
objectivity. You're
that's
wrong.
identity politics.
Hmm.
That's identitarianism right there. That's why they're so busy getting people obsessed with the whole are you white, are you black, are you this, are you that? No, last I checked, you're supposed to be American. And Americans are supposed to, citizens at least, the hardworking average Joes, are supposed to value this thing called the Constitution and the ideals set forth by the people who wrote it. Okay? Yeah, they weren't perfect. They're an example. Some of the founding fathers were an example of do as I say, don't do as I do. Every future generation should be better and learn from the mistakes of the past so they don't repeat them.
Hmm. It's
But that doesn't seem to
important
be
to learn history to the purpose of not repeating the past for the future. That's the whole point of learning history. So you don't make the same mistakes, or you don't make the same mistakes as someone does, or you learn from someone's past mistakes and say, okay, let's do better. Not I could do what's better. We can do better. Because they're trying to, again, they're trying to separate us into these groups.
divide and conquer.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's all it is. That's all it's ever been. Because I can tell you right now, the Neon Knights group that we have right now, right? We all have our own differing opinions. While we share commonality, right? We also do have differing opinions, but we also don't hate each other for our differing opinions. We don't agree, and we will, debate each other, right?
Yeah.
But that's all it is. We're debating. We're combating our ideas and seeing which one comes out stronger.
We're having general, normal conversations, man. We could still be friends even if we disagree on a subject. You know how it
Exactly.
used to be somehow? I don't know
Nerds
when it
fucking did that
changed.
all the time. Like Batman, what was it? Superman versus Goku. How many fucking fights when we were growing up, or was it Superman versus the Hulk? Things like that. You know,
Dude, it's
how many friendships ended over that shit? None.
none.
They would get heated, but at the end of the
Yeah.
day, they get on with it.
You get
They
heated, especially if you were guys, you get heated, maybe you got a little physical confrontation. But that's how I have to use the word biological male because, people are idiots. That's how biological males do it. And then after that, then we're good after that. We make up after that in our own way, and that's it. Whenever it ended friendship, there was a petty little disagreements. Oh, I don't agree with your political side. I disagree with your political side, or I don't agree with you. Saying okay, that's fine. You know, the whole purpose of you should share you should share your facts, opinions, and views. The whole point of it is to have a mutual understanding. It's not to force one side, right? You have to let the other person, the other side, decide that on themselves. So at least if you have an understanding, you at least know where the person's coming from, and then you can make your decision later on if you agree or disagree with them. It's called knowing your enemy in a in a war way. You know, like they say, keep your friends close, keep your enemies closer. That old saying.
yeah. Well, I mean, I recommend reading. This is gonna sound like such a cliched and trite response, but definitely read. What is it? Art of War. Sun Tzu's Art of War. Basically, not only should you keep your friends close, but your enemies closer, but you should also know your enemy as though you are the enemy. Because if you know yourself, truly know yourself, you're going to know what your weaknesses are. And if you know what your weaknesses are, you will strengthen them. So when an enemy who thinks they know what your weakness is and thinks they can take advantage of it, right? You can counter.
Hmm.
Sorry if I'm getting all
No,
I don't know, philosophical.
no, no, no. That's No, it's the point because we're trying to spread a message out there, and at the end of the day, it's for the audience to make their decision on it. We're not going to lead you in the wrong direction. Yeah, we're telling you things and how we feel, but we're also telling you factual things at the end of the day too. Trying to help
Yeah.
you realize what's going on. I'm not saying that you should hate someone or hate this certain thing, right? But you at least need to understand what's going on in the world.
Well, except for commies. Commies the one exception, and people who put pineapple on their pizza. I know who you are, people.
Yeah.
That's a joke, by the way.
No, Mike, they don't know jokes.
I had to clarify because in today's day and age, humor seems to be very ununderstandable. People just
No,
they lost all sense of it.
there's no humor unless humor is making fun of right wing conservative Trump lovers or anything that's not part of the narrative that's being driven right now. That's the only humor.
The
Because
Ben
at
and
the
Jerry's,
moment,
the Ben and
you
Jerry's thing of the week.
thing of the week is my thing of the fucking year. It's the same shit. It's just getting worse.
Well, that's the thing. It seems like there's something new every other day, and then when they are ready to be done with it, they recycle the old stuff. So right now they're talking about
Victimization.
climate change right now. How climate change is causing heart attacks all of a sudden. Yeah, let's be honest here. It ain't climate change causing heart attacks all of a sudden.
Yeah. Maybe you should put that in the fucking McDonald's. Seriously.
Yeah, exactly. Overconsumption.
Nothing against McDonald's. If you promote us, I would love it. Get it?
Oh, fuck that. I would
I'm
never
loving
it. Get the fuck out.
I'm looking at this promotion, Mike. Okay, I mean you don't have to eat McDonald's. I'm just saying.
No, no.
I'll eat
I
the
would
Dino
rather
Nuggies.
Dino Nuggies. Do they fucking make Dino Nuggies?
No, but you can buy them in
Oh,
the store. The
I was gonna say,
chicken
I haven't
nuggets
had.
that look like dinosaurs. It comes full circle, essentially, if you think about it.
Wait, what?
There's
How? Come on, you gotta explain
there's
this to
like
me.
a meme I saw. It was like
Yeah.
dinosaurs turn. It's like then they're dead, and then now they're chickens, and chickens become breasted meat, and they
Oh,
turn to chicken nuggets, and then now they're dino nuggets.
yeah,
Hence,
you're right.
comes full
Okay, I get it.
circle.
I
It's a
get it.
meme
Yeah,
thing, but yeah,
I get it. Okay.
yes. Not sponsored by any Dino Nuggies.
We are not sponsored by Tyson Chicken, but Tyson Chicken, if you'd like to, no. Oh man, I haven't had any of that stuff since God knows when. Probably since I was a kid. Maybe was the last time I had like Dino Nuggies or Dino Nuggets.
I mean, they're just people could just make them themselves if they learn how to make it. You're
You
really
see the
just
food processor. That's it.
yeah, you're just
Yeah.
shaping the nugget in the form of a dinosaur. You could even probably buy cookie cutter shaped dinosaurs from somewhere.
Yeah. No. 100%.
Yeah, that's it.
If you want, you can do what is it? Chances are you probably need to grind up maybe like a chicken breast or two. Here now we're getting to the cooking portion to make our listeners hungry at probably like 3 a.m. when they're listening to this. For Dino Nuggies, homemade Dino Nuggies, take like 2 chicken breasts, some garlic powder or garlic, depending if you have fresh garlic available, some onions, salt, pepper, and a little bit of cornstarch, and then literally um, puree that into a food processor, like you were saying, slap it out and cut out dinosaur shapes with dinosaur cookie cutter even, and then toss it into a fryer, and you're good to go.
Yup. Sorry,
There
I
you
was
go,
just
homemade.
laughing at this meme. Someone posted said Harry Potter 52 of Greenville crack possession.
Wait, what?
It's this meme from this guy Johnny Blanco. It's
That
so
being in the background.
It's fucking funny.
Well, that's another thing that I guess the whole outrage against J.K. Rowling backfired, right? Because now that was the most purchased game on Steam or pre-ordered game
Oh
on
yeah,
Steam.
all those people saying you're gonna boycott the game. Give me a fucking break. You ain't gonna boycott shit.
Yeah, we
Get
talked
out of here.
about that
You're
earlier.
still gonna like Harry Potter. You're just upset because you couldn't because she doesn't agree with your made up genders or anything like that. She's not wrong. She's right.
Well, no.
And
Did
if
you
you don't
see?
have to agree, not saying, well, it actually doesn't matter if you don't agree with her because she's so factually right. but don't tell me you're gonna boycott a game and then no, you're still gonna buy it.
And
As
still go to Harry Potter, like, Universal Land.
Yeah, and you're still gonna go to You tell me you're not gonna not go to Universal and not pretend to be a wizard and a witch. And granted, look, Harry Potter is a very popular IP. They're fun books. I've read the books like over 3 times as a kid. I still watch the movies still these days. I played all the shitty ones, especially the meme Hagrid PS1 version. Just Google that. You'll see the meme behind that. You know? So give me a fucking break. You ain't boycotting shit.
Well, yeah, it's like what happened in, I think it was Scotland recently. Oh, not recently, probably about, I want to say a few days ago. A guy, a convicted double rapist, his name I think was Adam Graham, if I'm not mistaken. He decided to identify as a woman, so when they tried him, they are now sentencing him in a woman's prison. This guy is a rapist, and you're going to put him in a women's prison.
You know that whole meme? You know that whole segment from Tropic Thunder?
Never go full stupid or full retard.
Yeah, you never go
Yeah.
like full retard, full stupid. Yeah, that's essentially what just happened with that.
Yeah, and that was the 20, I think it was reported on at least on the 26th or 27th. This is absolutely insane. The guy is a double rapist, and they're sending him into a all-female prison because of how he, quote, identifies. That's ridiculous. Next, if they have a draft, you're going to have just a bunch of guys identify as, women, and they can just dodge the draft?
Yeah, okay, yeah, that's when people were really gonna revert back to their whole biological roles real quick.
Yeah, exactly.
Give me a fucking break on. Yeah, no, this night has turned into much more of a rant, which we kind of love doing because
They're fun.
they're fun. We're trying to be entertaining and just tell you the truth and expose what's out there. I'm not telling you to not like Harry Potter, not telling you to not like, James Gunn and his whole issue. Right? No, but I'm just you have to understand what's going on. You can't just not listen to the other side's argument just because it's different. It has a different view or different opinion than yours. You have to know
Well,
both sides. You have to know what's going on around the world, in your
you're talking about
backyard, and everything.
you're talking about people who are being coddled. You think people who are being coddled are willingly going to just start accepting the opinions of others, even though they don't like them? No, you have to be direct and just straight to the point with them. This is this. This is a problem. This is what this is. Objectively. And show them, and you can show them to reason. But if they're not going to accept reason, you shouldn't go nuts about it. Move on to the next person. Hopefully, they'll succumb to reason.
Yeah, the whole point. Yeah, definitely. With that point, let the other person decide. You don't want to be as bad as the other person to try to enforce your views or ways. No, in order to be a good leader, you have to show the people why they should follow you as a leader. It's not to force. It's not to say do as I do. Right? No, you have to show them why you should be a good leader. Show by example. No.
Well, the traits of a good leader are going to vary. A good leader is going to know how to utilize his followers to their strengths and know when to take a seat back and let the person who has an expertise in, say, X skill do what they have to do without micromanaging them. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And allow them to make mistakes too. And when they do make mistakes, if you can understand what they did wrong, don't fucking drill it into them.
Yeah. You can. There's a way of doing correct constructive criticism,
Yeah, big time.
right? With without essentially nailing the hammer down on someone. And it's not a way of just coming off as like trying to be soft. No, the whole point of it is, it's like you said, you want to try to grow the person's strength that's going to not just benefit that just you, but also benefit themselves as a person.
Well, it's like I sent you that video. The guy said, if you help me, I'll help you. I used to like that quote, he says, right? There's an older gentleman, I forgot his name. And then as he grew up, he started realizing, you know what? No, I'll help me and you help yourself.
Hmm. It's actually a very simple an example when you go on an airplane, right? And the emergency starts and the oxygen mask comes on and you have
Help
a
yourself.
child, the reason you're supposed to put it on yourself is so that you can help either your child or someone who's elderly or disabled not be able to put on the oxygen mask. You're supposed to put theirs on second. That's
Yeah.
the whole point. You need, if you want to help somebody, help the people in your life, help your friends, help your loved ones, right? You have to start by helping yourself. And that's not being selfish. Because if you can help yourself and you can take care of yourself, you can help others then. If you try to help others and not take care of yourself, you're just stretching yourself thin to the point of self destruct.
Yeah. Well,
It doesn't work like that. You have to
there's an
help
old,
yourself first. And then when you're ready to help others, when you can take care of yourself, be on your own, be self-reliant, be resilient, right? Take, uh, take care of yourself, then you can take care of others. It's not the other way around.
there's a proverb behind that can succinctly sum that up. Never lend anyone all the bricks until you finish building your own house.
I like that one.
Yeah. Because one day you're going to find yourself with no bricks, no house, and everyone else is having their houses, and you're going to see, bits of pieces of your bricks in their houses, and that can cause some resentment, and
Yeah.
humans aren't above being fickle.
Just because you treat someone a certain way doesn't mean that they're obligated to treat you the same way back. It's a live and learn lesson, you kind of you have to use set by example when doing that. The other person is supposed to decide, okay, well, he really did a nice thing for me, maybe in return I should do something nice back for him. That's how it's technically supposed to be, but not everyone's going to think like that.
No.
So be careful who you help the first, the second time, and if they're not, and if there's no return back, then it's time for you to vamoose. That's it. It's time to
Yeah,
leave.
that's
That's it.
simple.
Yep. It
Sometimes
doesn't make you a bad person. No, it's just why should you go out of your way to the point of what's to do what? To run yourself dry? To eventually make yourself a victim because you decided to overwork yourself to help others? What did that do? That did nothing. It actually caused more self-destruct because not all those people that you help have to help you now. They technically don't have to because you already gave up yourself helping them first.
yeah, and if you try to do it by force, that makes you a filthy commie. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and ain't no fucking commies here.
No,
I
not at
mean,
all.
I mean they try to be, but yeah.
Yeah, you mean what's his name? Xi Jinping
Hmm.
or Joe Beijing or whatever the fuck they call him nowadays. He's the dude's got so many fucking nicknames. I've lost track of them all.
My
Now the
favorite one
FBI's
is
in.
Sleepy Joe.
Oh, Sleepy. Yeah, that's a classic one. Brandon would always be my favorite. I even got that commemorative "Let's Go Brandon" wrapping paper for Christmas last year. It was hilarious,
Hmm.
and I have the ornament as well. So, ah man,
Politics can
it's
be funny sometimes too. Don't forget, it can always be a
oh,
laughter.
some of the greatest satire or comedy comes from politics. Like George Carlin's bit about war is a bunch of prick waving.
Oh my
Missiles are
god!
dicks, bullets are dicks.
If
Maybe
George
if George,
Carlin was still alive now, like right now, we're talking like he's still alive in 2023, and he was still telling jokes. Oh, they would have tried to cancel him years ago.
I think he would have been immune to the canceling. I think because he
Oh
was
no,
so
100%. There would have been
yeah.
an attempt, obviously, right?
Oh, 100%. Yeah, there's no denying that.
There would have been an attempt, and he still would have not given up. Just like they tried to cancel Dave Chappelle, and that obviously didn't work. It backfired
Yeah, it
a lot.
backfired immensely, and it became an incredibly popular Netflix comedy special, if I'm not mistaken, too.
He's actually had multiple Netflix comedy specials.
Yes, yes, yes. It was three of them, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was very much, yeah. The whole ideology of cancel culture is sickening. To
Well,
cancel
you've just
someone
got to.
because they have a different opinion than yours. Get over yourself.
Well, that's why vague morality clauses, which are just massive, high caliber bullshit, right? To quote a Twitter follower of mine, are just massive red flags. Read your contracts. If you ever get into the entertainment business, right? Read in any facet, whether it's as a writer or you're a star, whatever it may be. Make sure you read those terms and those contracts, because if there's a vague morality clause in there, that's an excuse for them to fire you for anything. Like the whole Gina Carano thing. That was because of a vague morality clause. They didn't like her tweet. Her tweet was literally just, it didn't start with the Nazis, knocking on the doors of Jews. It started with them with fear-mongering propaganda to target their neighbors. She didn't, and don't judge someone based off of their political party, and they took that as, oh, she's talking about conservatives. They're talking about the vax mandate. They're talking about this. So they just assumed, and they got rid of her.
Mm-hmm. I was say, speaking of contracts, I think the whole so we'll get into it a bit, but I think the whole idea of what happened between the Daily Wire and Steven Crowder, there was if you want to read up about it, honestly, YouTube like Quarterine, Eric July from the Rippaverse, Steven Crowder. Watch a bunch of videos of them. They kind of go more in detailed because we have a lot of things we somewhat hit on tonight. But basically, the main issues it was the like you called it, I think I called it was the pre-contract.
It's a term sheet, yeah.
The term sheet that the Daily Wire sent over to Steven Crowder, because what the Daily Wire was saying that Steven Crowder was upset because he originally wanted 120 million, but they were only offering 50 million. When the case wasn't even about the money, it was actually about what was in the contract. Because Steven Crowder, his website Stop BitCon is supposed to stop big tech from taking over. The idea of it is to be on the crowd and other people's side to not use big tech. Daily Wire gets supplement support from big tech, so you can't talk about big tech and then you still receive money help from them at the same time for advertising on their videos,
or giving them money.
You give them money, yeah. They give them money to put their ads on Facebook, for example. Then yeah. You want to call them out. Come on, you can't have your cake and eat it too. It doesn't fucking work like that.
But we're talking about Ben Shapiro here, though.
Yeah, not everyone on there is a bad person, so don't go over there and hating because you're just going to be just as bad as them. No,
and there's also there's a little bit of a conflict too. Like, I like what Matt Walsh did with the "What's a Woman" documentary. That documentary or mockumentary, depending on how you look at it, right?
I would say it's both, because I want to think it was more of a mockumentary that ended up being
fun on the whole thing.
Phenomenal attraction.
Yeah, exactly. But if you look at Matt Walsh's tweets, he comes off as a bit authoritative, like autocratic, and then you have people like Michael Knowles, who comes off as theocratic, right? Michael Knowles has written some really interesting books too, like Speechless, I think was the name of the book, Controlling Words, Controlling Minds. Interesting book, makes a lot of very valid, good points, but I don't agree with some of the theocratic things that he's said in the past.
And that's an interesting thing too. When you talk about someone's past or things they used to do before, it's like I was saying, it's important to understand what happened previously in history, as we stated earlier in the show, right? And the whole point of it is just so that you don't repeat. You're supposed to learn from what you did in the past, own up to what you did, right? So you don't repeat the same mistakes you did, and you're supposed to learn from it and to do better. Not try to do better. There's no tries, do or don't.
Yeah.
Like Yoda
Well,
says.
I was about to say you're quoting Yoda right there.
Yes, I'm quoting the great Yoda of the original Star Wars movies, the great movies.
You mean the only ones? What? Who said that? That would be me.
Sorry, no, you were right. Let me just add another word. The only good ones. There we go.
The prequels were all flash, no substance. All right, let's be honest here. Someone should have told George Lucas no on a few things with the writing dialogue.
That was.
I have the high
I gotta
ground.
say though, like the whole scene between Darth Maul versus Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon Jinn, that make my dick hair stand up. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, you were like fucking 7, I think, or 8.
I'm Hispanic, Mike. We get hair early, so regardless, so it still makes the hairs of my arms stand up when
you were fucking 8. That's when you realize you hit puberty. No?
Exactly. When I saw episode 1.
It's like in Sam Raimi's Spider-Man when the spider sense goes off, Spidey sense goes off, and the hairs rise up. It's just like this humming sound.
Or it kind of like that meme where he's like trying to attempt to wall crawl on a building, and he goes woo. But it's like someone poked his butthole or something. It was the meme
fucking
I saw.
done. What?
The internet is undefeated. It's
it truly is. It truly is undefeated. It's fantastic. I love it. Oh man.
But yeah. So basically, I think we keep going back to the contract because it's just one. Because it's a very interesting thing. Honestly, I think people should look it up. And it's not meant to really choose sides, which honestly, the whole point is Steven Crowder is he is right. He did one thing that was questionable, which we will get to in a bit, right?
Yeah,
Which
and
people,
I'm still
people
conflicted
have
about
different,
that.
Yeah, people are gonna have different opinions, and I understand that can be a very conflicted or controversial thing to not for us to talk about, but just the idea of it for others, right?
Yeah.
But the contract basically stated that from what Steven Crowder stated in his words, I'm going to try to sum up in a nutshell, was he had to make a certain number of videos. And if somehow during his whole thing of making the videos, if he either A, doesn't make the set number of videos that the Daily Wire was trying to tell him to make, right? Or he gets demonetized or says something that they think he shouldn't say, right? They can fine him of quite a lot of money. I think it was like what, $100,000 or something.
So if you total up the fines of everything, when if he gets demonetized or if he's boycotted on like Spotify or Apple Podcast or any of these podcasting platforms or video, big tech, I should say, not like Rumble, but big tech video platforms like YouTube, for instance, right? Which, by the way, we mentioned earlier, Steven Crowder's been demonetized for years. Okay, so what? Does that contract automatically retroactively kick in place? But to go back to what I was saying, 110%. He gets fined 110% when you cumulatively add up those fines.
Mm-hmm. So even though, yeah, he would technically, the deal was for $50 million over an X number of years, right? It wasn't about the money. It's just Steven Crowder's idea is supposed to stop big con. It's supposed to stop big tech to not be part of it. So it wasn't that he wasn't upset because they didn't so-called receive the 120 that he was asking for. No, he's definitely worth millions from his sponsorship of Mug Club, right? And things he's done in the past with Blaze and stuff like that, right?
But also,
so he's
I have
not
to
like,
interject.
How do I say? Not
I have to interject. That money though isn't going to him. That money is the 50 million is the production budget. So yes, he gets a salary, but he also has people working for him, researchers, investigative journalists, and so forth, that all make the whole Crowder team work, the Louder for Crowder team function. And then they also wanted, proprietary rights to his merchandise. So even if he got like kiboshed, they would still have the rights to Crowder merchandise. So say if a shirt said, hey, Louder with Crowder, and Crowder leaves the Daily Wire because of whatever reason, right? Because Ben Shapiro doesn't like the fact that Crowder is more of a man than he is, or something like that. or he's just taller than him. Ben Shapiro being 5'7" or something. Anyway, midget skin a midge.
He's
So
short for the average male.
yeah, by just like an inch. Not gonna lie, he's literally shorter than the average male by an inch, at least in the United States. But yeah, they could still sell Louder with Crowder T-shirts, from what I understand about that term sheet, if Crowder was still to leave, because they now have the proprietary rights. They also get to control his social media, like you saw with Jordan Peterson when he retweeted the Crowder thing, right? And then a few seconds later, deleted it. Yup.
Mm-hmm. And it's not saying there's any fault on Jordan Peterson, right? Because we don't know if he actually deleted it or did the Daily Wire delete it. Because he's not even not saying he's not in charge of his social media, but his daughter also does
Michaela.
kind of his own. She runs the whole thing for him.
Yeah, Michaela Peterson.
Mm-hmm, yeah. So who knows who deleted it, but essentially it was deleted, and that was kind of basically sus right there. But honestly, it probably could have been the Daily Wire that deleted it. But at that point, even for that amount of money, even if they said, yeah, if the production value was $50 million, because they got to pay for people to look up articles and producers, audio and video editors, and etc. And
creating new content,
makeup team. Well, I learned from watching the Court and everyone that the Daily Wire, they're $1 million company. Like the amount of money they pay for if you see how how they look on camera, they have their own team of makeup artists for the men and the women. Honestly, it's mainly for the women for the hair and stuff like that, but and their face makeup. But for the guys too, probably got some barbers there for a nice clean haircut and shave, right?
Okay.
But they have it there, right, as an example, right? So it's not like they're just some small company or some small person like Steven Crowder's. And if Steven Crowder were to do this, he would be bringing over the Mug Club with him, which by subscription value is easy worth millions of dollars, at least.
Okay. So as of November, Jeremy Boring of the Daily Wire, he's I think their CEO if I'm not mistaken, he announced that they had already surpassed over 1 million subscribers on their Daily Wire Plus streaming service. Now, this was November, prior to the whole thing going on with Crowder, so their numbers could have dropped, their numbers could have gone up. Big question mark. But if I'm looking at this correctly, you're looking at a minimum of $4 a month billed annually, right, for just the Reader Pass, or you have, the various different tiers capping out at $20 a month, also billed annually. Now, if they have just the minimum, just the Reader Pass, which we know it's not true, that's $4 million. That's $4 million a month. So if you times that
just
per year,
that's subscriptions.
That's 80 million from subscriptions alone, right? And that's bare minimum Reader Pass, which we both know isn't the case. I don't know what the exact numbers are, right? But it's probably a mixed match. So they're bringing in a hefty amount per month and overall annually, not to mention what they make on merch as well, or whatever sponsorship deals they get, because look at Ben Shapiro when he was so torn over what went on with the phone call, which we'll get to in a bit, right? And then he cuts to reading an advert. Wait, hold on. There's a little bit of a questioning of whether you're legitimately upset when you start reading an advert, because that's like you're flicking a switch on and off. What are you, a robot? I mean, it's Ben Shapiro. I'm not surprised, but yeah.
Yeah, well, when they obliged by our sponsorship, I guess they probably have to sound like a fucking robot. But yeah, basically the contract was basically the whole big controversy behind the contract was it wasn't honestly even about the money. It was but it was about if he were to get canceled or demonetized. If he went over to the Daily Wire, he would essentially be giving them everything that he owns about himself, his merch, his own merch, his own subscribers, right? His own ideology, his own content over to the Daily Wire, and the Daily Wire would own everything, even if they decide to a couple of years part ways and stuff like that, and he wanted to go back to being on his own.
It was, I think the contract initially is a 4-year contract with a 2-year option, 2-year option based off of performance. So 6 years total, technically.
And I'll be honest. I think that some people were saying that, yeah, when you try to, as we're trying to start up, our own thing from as a very very tiny group. We're trying to start up as our own thing from the very bottom. It is hard out there, when you want to start your own thing, and you don't have the funds, the money, and the support to do it. So I do understand that Daily Wow is shelling out that amount of money. So I'm not saying that they're not wrong on the money that they're shelling out. It's just the contract, the pre contract. It was pretty much it's sketchy. It's like,
Oh,
all right,
very much
before you
so.
even sign the full contract, you have to sell essentially yourself to me first. Before we can even get to the nitty gritty bits of the real contract, not the real, but the actual contract, right? And it wasn't like Steven Crowder is a small guy, like not physically, it's not like a small channel. He's a very large channel, so it's not like he would be bringing over. He would be strengthening himself and the Daily Wire more if they actually worked and collabed together. But of course, because one side is shelling out a large amount of money, and I get it, it's definitely a lot of money, but at the same time, it shouldn't be to the point where you're trying to take the other person's every
IP.
IP and everything they worked for just because you might have had a falling out somewhere in your lives, or a small petty squabble somewhere along the line. Like,
It's
get
it's
over
not even
yourselves.
that. It's something that is just very commonplace with Crowder. We're talking about a guy who is constantly on and off again on the chopping block for cancellation, right? The dude has gone through litigation after litigation, to just stay in there. And if it wasn't for Mug Club, he probably wouldn't have made it through.
No, he would have not had the fight the he wouldn't not have the financial backing to be able to still withstand the litigation. So yeah, it's like you said. I don't blame him for being suspicious when it comes to contract signings of any sort. It's about reading all the fine print.
Oh yeah, you have to read the fine print. I remember we back in the day used to have a rule where because I was trying to make sure to create an area that was devoid of politics. I just personally got tired of fucking hearing everything was politics, politics, politics. But unfortunately, nowadays it's just become so woven into everything you can't avoid it. If that makes
Politics
sense.
has infected essentially our pop culture entertainment. It,
Well,
it's what
culture.
it's what's ruining these large IPs for identity politics at the end of the day, and of narrative driven agendas.
Yeah, but I
You
think
know.
something we should probably talk about is that phone call that was recorded, which is what I think really kind of soured people to Crowder a
Mm,
little bit, I would say, and what kind
yeah.
of really caused the biggest schism. Because there were some people who probably would have been on the wire side, but I think overwhelmingly, I think people generally had more of a positive outlook on Crowder prior to
Hmm.
the phone call. So, do you want to explain what happened?
Yeah, I'll kind of probably briefly explain if I miss some like meaty bits of details, and interject. So with that, so he, so after the public found out that Steven Crowder was having an issue with the Daily Wire. Remember, the public decided that, and he didn't say anything, mind you, in his first video, right? In the
Yes.
next video, Steven Crowder made out. He released not entirely, but just a brief recorded phone call between him and Jeremy
Which
of the Daily Wire, talking about a small, brief conversation about contracts and how the Daily Wire basically says, yeah, we not that we kind of use them to help them promote themselves and
slave
stuff
wages or
like
something they
that.
said, right?
Slave wages, right? And so it's not really the context of the conversation pertaining to this. It's more about the about release about releasing the recorded phone call to the public. They could have been any. Oh, well, I guess they're really different, but it could have been almost anything. I'll say, right? But this is where the controversy starts, because after he released that, I don't know if it was before or after. That's when essentially everyone in the Daily Wire was commenting and saying their own opinions to Steven Crowder. And
So,
we'll get to her because I know if I mention it, it's gonna go off. But
oh, Candace Owens,
we'll mention Candace Owens because that's
the
a big
biggest.
juicy one.
You mean the biggest hypocrite? Nicole
Hmm.
Arbor. That's all I'm going to say. That's all I'm going to say. Okay, she wants to criticize Steven for.
Yeah,
Granted, I'm conflicted about the. Well, hold on. I got to rewind. So rewind, going back. One thing you forgot. Steven made his initial video. He did his best to leave out names in muddy water, right? So
yeah.
no one would find out. But of
That's what I
course,
was saying. Yeah, that video
yeah.
he made.
But soon after, Jeremy Boring responded to his video because he assumed like, okay, he was, I guess, trying to do damage control or trying to just,
He's
I
probably
guess,
trying to prevent damage control. Because if he actually out to watch Steven Crowder's video, he did not mention the Daily Wire at all. There was
no,
not
he
the
did not.
word Daily Wire wasn't even mentioned in his entire video.
It was just assumed.
And then obviously internet things, and the assumption comes up correct.
Yeah, exactly. Which was confirmed by Jeremy Boring when he did his defense video, which he didn't even have to do. If he didn't do the defense video, it still would have been a big question mark, right? Then afterwards, that's when the phone call recording occurred. Not occurred, but the video occurred of the phone recording. So flash forward, everyone's making their own videos. Ben Shapiro does his half-hearted video of how he's so deeply disturbed, that this is a destruction of a friendship and so forth, which I'm a little bit skeptical of it, right? Of at least from Ben Shapiro's side. And then you have Candace Owens goes on Tim Pool, and I caught part of the episode. I just couldn't stand anymore because she was just going off 500 miles a minute, right? And just not letting anyone talk for a while on the show. And then criticizing Crowder on the whole recording thing, just to, later on find out she did the same exact fucking thing. Nicole Arbor, like I said earlier.
She just likes to hear her own voice.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
So this is the part where I would say where I don't blame people for having different opinions, right, upon the whole recorded voice call, because if they were truly friends, right, you shouldn't have to record your friends unless both parties agree to it, right? Whatever the issue is, you should just be able to talk it out. But between them, it was a little bit different because we're talking like a prerequisite of a multi-million-dollar contract. So I mean, it's different than like a petty squabble between two friends versus like, oh yeah, this is like actual business with multi-million-dollars up in the works of being used.
So where I have to say where I'm conflicted about it, I'm conflicted because I'm okay with it when James O'Keefe, I say James Veritas, well, James O'Keefe does it for Project Veritas, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then it kind of bugs me when Crowder did it. I'm trying to figure out why it bugs me when Crowder did it, because it's being portrayed
it came
as
off
like
the way I think it was the way he executed it.
Maybe that's why I have to really think about it. But that's where I'm conflicted, and
You
I
can
don't
see
want
his
to be
execution. He kind of has a smirk when he does the video, and he kind of
yeah.
throws that little little kind of not witty.
It's a shit-eating grin.
Yeah, he does kind of this grin. He does some kind of little comedy entertainment thing, and then boop, plays the video. It's kind of, it's a YouTube. It's supposed to be kind of entertaining. So I get it. But I think it was the way it was just executed versus then what Project Vertas did it.
Maybe. Because, like I said, I have no problem when James O'Keefe does that for Project Veritas, like what happened with the Pfizer guy. We're not going to get into that tonight. We don't have enough time for that.
No.
But what he did with the whole Pfizer thing, I'm okay with that. But for some reason, like I said, and I'll have to think it. Maybe there is some truth to like what you're saying, that maybe that is what's bugging me. But I'll have to still, ruminate on it.
Yeah.
And think about like, why does it bug me when Crowder does it? And separate myself from the whole cultural zeitgeist where it's like everyone's like pretty much saying the same thing. Oh, we're on Crowder's side until he did that phone call. I'm like, okay, I want to separate myself from that so I know that I'm not being led by the herd,
Yeah. I'm not saying you should be on his side, but objectively, right at the end at the end of this, Crowder is being deemed more of, not in a terrible way, but more of the, I guess if the word's corrected, sane way of a good victim in this whole scenario where, yeah, he's not pure and holy, because the phone call did sour some people, but at the same time that shouldn't deter you from it, because no one's perfect, right? If you think about the at the end, if he probably didn't do that, everyone at the Daily Wire came and attacked, like, well, okay, I can't say everyone because I gotta use the word quote attacked correctly, because the only one who technically probably came after them and attacked them the most was obviously Candace Owens, and then Ben Shapiro. I think the only people who probably made tame videos about it. Uh, what's his name? Chen. Am I
Eric
saying
July.
that? No.
Oh, Lauren Chen.
Lauren Chen. Brett Cooper. I think they were just more tame about it. Obviously, because they're part of the Daily Wire, they shared their opinions about it, right? But they were definitely more tame about it. Doesn't mean they're bad people. Doesn't mean you should stop following them. No. Doesn't mean you, I guess, if you want to, I guess, lose respect for the people who definitely like attacked him, like Candace Owens is like number one, and then Ben Shapiro right after that.
Well, yeah. Well, I mean,
All right.
like I said, just watch that. Just watch a segment of that Tim Pool part where she's on. She just goes on like a mile a minute. Just get to the fucking point. If you're gonna make some criticisms about the guy, right? Okay, I don't, say, what you disagreed about him with, what he shouldn't have done, and then say you think that behavior is appalling. Straight to the
That's it.
fucking point, and then
Yeah.
have emotion to it.
Just get to
Don't
the
just
point.
just don't talk like this. Come on.
You're not. There's a difference of trying to be entertaining for the audience and versus just trying to get to the point. Just get to the point and move on to the next topic. I don't want to hear
Especially
you rant about something for 10 minutes that probably should take you 2 minutes to talk about.
especially since not Crowder, Tim Pool isn't a comedy show. Yeah, there are brief moments of comedy depending on who's on, right, and what's said and done.
No, he's
But
more
this wasn't one of those
serious.
moments. Yeah, because he's talking about, I
He's
can't
talking
say pop
about
culture.
things
He's
that are
talking about
going on in the real
current
world.
events.
Yeah, current events from everything he's talking about. Mainly politics, but it's essentially just current events. What's the big juicy topic of the week or the day, essentially, right?
Yeah.
I'm not saying to like also not saying disregard Candace Owens because not she's not like I don't know her. I can say she's not a bad person, but the only thing I could say is her whole documentary on the BLM was very spot on. She did do a lot of research into that, so that's if you're interested in that document, you should look into it, right? But
And what was that?
but the recorded phone call.
What was that documentary called, by the way?
Oh shit, I don't even know the name.
All right, I'll look it
I
up. Go ahead.
Yeah, just look up for a second so we can tell the audience.
As
Is
you
basically a
research.
documentary to expose the Black Lives Matter when it comes to their um tax documents on how on when
So
they use the money.
yeah, so it's called it's a bit of a mouthful, people. The greatest lie ever sold: colon George Floyd and the rise of BLM.
Hmm. It's a very interesting factual document. She expressed her views, says a lot of interesting things, and does expose the whole thing that happened between George Floyd, the BLM movement, stupid summer of love, all that. Right. So this is the part where I was saying before earlier. Under You understand by gaining a knowledge of the other side, and then make your opinion after that. Do not just shout one side because that side fits your just driven narrative. No. Listen to the document, see what she has to says, and then decide on your views and opinions after that.
Basically, open discourse. That's what
Hmm.
is important. which for the
Transparency. You need transparency.
yeah, transparency is another thing that you need for open discourse, knowing that receipts essentially, and that they're public for some extent, depending on what yours. There are investigative journalists that need to keep their sources secret, and do go to jail for their sources.
Oh, of course.
But seeing
No.
as how it is getting a little late, is there anything else you wanted to add to the whole Stephen Chowder and Daily Soup debacle, or no?
Um, no, I think that was pertaining. I know the whole big one of the big controversy was the recorded phone call, and I guess if people want, I guess if I were to share my opinion on it, I do think he was wrong. Maybe not. Not well. The phone call was already recorded, so it was too late.
Yeah.
Right now, about releasing it, do I don't think you should have honestly released it because I think it just caused more harm than it did. But at the same time, regardless, if you looked at Twitter, everyone was essentially going back and forth on Steven Crowder. So he was being attacked, like essentially, quote, attacked from all angles upon him from the Daily Wire. So it's one of those like, do I blame him for releasing it? I don't know, but do I think it's morally wrong? Yeah, I mean, in my opinion, I do think it's. This is where I would say I understand where people could have different, like, conflicting views on it about the whole releasing very minor bits of the phone call because it wasn't the whole entire thing, by the way.
No, it wasn't. It was literally just like a segment of it.
Yeah, it was like maybe not even like 30 seconds. Maybe it was just like 30 seconds, right?
Just
But
about.
obviously, the idea that it was brought up to public eye is what caused the controversial spark to it. But yeah, let us know what you think about that in the comments below. But it'd be interesting to see what people have their different views and opinions on the whole releasing the recorded phone call.
Are you team Chowder or are you team Soup? And or are you team I don't give a fuck? That's
Hmm.
another option as well. Because I think Jeremy from Geeks and Gamers kind of put it in another way that's pretty interesting. Millionaires, it's like Hollywood millionaires fighting over millions of dollars, right? When the common man is like struggling, they don't care about that, you know.
No,
The
it was all for like I wouldn't call it a stunt, but it was all for just pretty much for minor hype, right? It obviously grew attraction to both the Daily Wire and Steven Crowder. They both probably got subscribers from this whole week debacle, right? So and then obviously it kind of just died down a bit after that, but it's something that should be as a learning lesson for future businesses and for people to go into business partnership with sponsors, businesses, close friends, etc., stuff like that. So just use that as form and example.
yeah, if you can't trust your business partners, you shouldn't be in business with them. That's a keep it short
That's
and
it.
sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you think it's kind of sketch, say, hey, this is kind of sketch and lay it out. And if it's not something you agree with, then just no, that's it. Even if they're flashing in all this money in front of you, that's where you decide on your morals after that point.
Well, that's the problem. We need more principled people, to be
Hmm.
honest, in this world. If there are more principled people, I think this place would be just slightly a bit better. Just my opinion.
Oh no, it,
Yeah.
it definitely will. I honestly think that at the end of this, that whole debacle, I think it caused more. I think it maybe generated a little attention to both groups, but I think in overall it caused a huge ripple because they're supposed to be they're supposed to be conservatives fighting against big con stop big con and big tech, and instead you know you're kind of just as bad as the people you criticize. They criticize the left a lot. Sometimes they're right too, but it's mainly the left, right? And then you end up just being just as bad as them because now you're essentially fighting. It's like your parents fighting. And
No,
you
kind of.
should try to just at the end you try to work it out and work together. So hopefully this could be taken as a learning lesson for them and or other future people trying to do business ventures.
I don't see, at least in the near future, Daily Wire and Crowder doing anything together, if
Oh
at
no.
all. But now it's out in the open. People are going to know what the term sheet is, and granted, term sheets you can negotiate with, so that's the asterisk you put there. But still, the term sheet as it's presented, right, is caca, just straight up. It gives everything away to the Daily Wire. And Crowder is looking to do his own thing, so hopefully he succeeds in doing that.
Exactly. So yeah, let us know, especially what you guys think about. I know this episode was supposed to be about a few plethora of topics, but this was kind of our main squeeze topic we wanted to kind of talk about tonight.
We kind of dabbled into everything, so
A little bit. I've had other
yeah.
things I wanted to bring up tonight, but I'll save that for the next episode.
Well, why don't you do what I do on Eternal Champions and blue balls these audience members and tease them?
I don't want to give people blue balls, but
no, you got to do it. Your daddy sins. If anyone does it, it's got to be you. Jeez.
Yeah, true. I should throw a little sins your way. All right. So next interesting topics for Daily Nights, which would be
Monday's recording.
That's going to be next week. So that when that episode comes out next week, yes, we are off on the weekends because we have our own lives. That's basically it. We do our own shit.
We're not
game. Robots.
JB is slowly taking over the world. So
yeah, I'm slowly and more beating people in competitive Magic the Gathering. So
he's making that salt empire. That's what he's doing.
I'll make you fucking salty.
Why so salty?
Exactly. And I'll be doing the pre-release for Phyrexia. All will be 69 this weekend.
Are you hoping that you get to pull Elish Norn?
Oh, I'm gonna get it regardless. Yeah, I pull or I buy it. It doesn't matter.
Oh, okay, yeah, yeah, then you're good.
When I want it,
you're good.
I want it.
Yeah, exactly. It's like I'm gonna get it one way or the other.
It's like the thirst is strong with this one.
Dude, you want her glistening oil all over your face.
Listen, I ain't complaining, all right? Everyone's got their thing.
I'm not judging. But anyway, what is it? What do you want to tease the audience with for Tuesday's, what do you call it? Recording
yes, the Daily Nights episode 5. Hopefully no other delays happen, but we'll be up for Tuesday when we record.
Yeah, hopefully no
Monday
other
night.
Hopefully no other car accidents happen. So yeah.
Yeah, seriously. We're gonna bring up a nice big juicy topic. OnlyFans.
Yeah.
The whole ideology of OnlyFans and how it's a big detrimental to the family unit and society as a whole.
One of the 4 horsemen of the slippery slope fallacy apocalypse.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, I'm just gonna say this. Obviously, is gonna preview to what I have to say about it, but the idea that more power to them if they can make $50,000 or $100,000 on OnlyFans. That is the biggest slippery slope and backdoor that you do not want opening, especially into any society. But that's all I'm going to say on that. And we'll have to wait, audience, you'll have to wait until Tuesday to hear about that. So I hope you enjoyed listening to Daily Nights. I've been your host, Treasonous Truths, and I was joined by my co-host, Daddy Sins.
Have a good night, everyone. This is Daddy Sins speaking. Have a sinful night. That sounds bad, but don't do any dumb shit. All right?
I have to get a program into my soundboard where it's just like when you're talking and you're doing like that deep voice, you're like bow chicka bow wow.
Bow chicka bow wow. It's kind of has like that Johnny Bravo vibes.
Yeah, basically, and all of a sudden, like a little disco ball comes around and starts spinning.
Exactly.
If you've enjoyed this episode of Daily Nights, be sure to follow us on Twitter at Neon Nights FM or on Instagram at Neon Nights Productions and our YouTube channel. There we go. I had to think of the word for a second. Channel on at Neon Nights Productions as well. we are slowly uploading our EC catalog, and as soon as that's done, we'll be uploading our Neon Knights catalog as well. So if you're into these episodes and you don't really have the time to really, listen to it through your phone, but you have your up on your computer and you can, do that while you're at work or wherever it is that you're doing, tune into Neon Knights Productions on YouTube as well.
Yeah, who knows? We might have these episodes, Daily Nights, up there soon. Who knows?
Yeah, very much so. Daily Nights.
Yeah, it's taken a while because YouTube. Well, people who do YouTube, you should all know it. Process uploading videos takes a while.
3 hours for a.
Yes.
I wonder if that's just because of how long the episodes are.
I want to say it's probably how long, because our very early Eternal Champion episodes, we're talking like back from a couple of years ago.
It's like 3 to 4 hours
from like
each.
2 to 3 hours. There's a one or two. There's quite a few. Then that range more. So I think it's the length of the video.
Yeah, and since this is supposed to be a shorter show, we're almost pushing 2 hours. It's probably gonna take less time to upload. So maybe we should do that as a test. I'll see if I can get a Daily Nights episode up and running, send it to you, process it, send it to you, and see what happens with it.
Mm-hmm. We'll get it done. Yes, follow us on our social media. We also have a merch store. Everything's on our Linktree account. Everything except YouTube. But that'll be up there soon.
And possibly a website soon for Neon Knights Productions, where you could just go and enjoy the website without having to download a billion different podcast platforms. So, haha.
Yep. Hashtag stop BitCon.
Not sponsored. Hashtag not sponsored. Anyway, folks.
Hashtag not sponsored by McDonald's or Dino Nuggies. It would be cool though. I'm not complaining. So
I'll compromise on the Dino Nuggies. I like the Dino Nuggies. It brings me back some nostalgia. But anyway, folks, until next time, stay golden.